Okay, real quickly, for those of you, today is the deadline to sign up for the spring journalism camp. We're going to be meeting three Fridays in April, and then 3 days on campus at the University of Arkansas. For those of you who want to get out of Berryville and spend some time on campus, we're going to be touring the NPR radio station. We'll be also working with journalism in the field. We're going to be working with photojournalist Andrea Bruce from National Geographic. Our second article should hopefully, and Maria, I think you were there. We're toying with the idea of doing both photojournalism, maybe a podcast, or maybe something written for those of you who are interested in that. We're still finalizing the details. I know Eden, you signed up. Our first meeting is this Friday. But if you're interested, I'm the one teaching it alongside with my partner, Ms. Zaladek. Go to Google Classroom. Fill this out, simple, easy peasy, and it's completely free. When we get to the University of Arkansas, what we want to do is we're gonna take you out. We're trying to see if we can observe court cases at the Washington County Court, which is off College Avenue.
There's like a federal.
Yes, we're trying to see, but because of COVID, they're limiting how many. But we want to do that so that you guys can see. You can see journalism in real time. So it's up there for you in case you want to apply. All right. Our learning goal for today is as follows. I can participate in collaborative discussions by taking part in the social versus personal responsibility activity, as well as other things. This is our agenda. We have a full packed agenda for today. So let's look at this. Yesterday we looked at what is culture, and we defined culture for this particular unit, and then we unpacked the four characteristics of culture that we will be using to explore our reading and understanding of Arthur Miller's The Crucible. So one was language, the second one was beliefs, the third was ideology, and then the fourth was societal norms. And today we're going to be looking at responsibility. And we're going to use the definition of Merriam-Webster, and this is how they define responsibility. The state or fact of being accountable or being blamed for something. So we're defining responsibility via Merriam-Webster, which says it's the state or fact of being accountable or being blamed for something. So in your writer's notebooks, here's what I want you to think about. Think about our American culture of 2021 and its ethical code, or its ethical code of conduct. Do you think American culture and its ethical code looks at responsibility as black and white, that there's a right and wrong way of being responsible? Yes, no, and then real briefly explain why. Give you about a minute. You don't have to write the question down, just write your response. Finish that last thought. All right. Our next question is this. Now think about your own ethical code of conduct. Your code of conduct that which you ascribe to your own life, your actions and your thinking, or your thinking that leads to action. Based on your own ethical code, do you believe responsibility is black and white? Or does it depend? And if it depends, what does it depend upon? I'll give you another minute. Finish that last thought. All right. And now in our small groups, let's share what we wrote. Both of what you're thinking about American culture and its code of responsibility being black and white, and then your own. And let's give about 3 minutes. I'm going to listen in on your conversations.
I don't know, it's complicated, because, I feel like some, ideal American idealism kind of is more black and white than most, Americans,
whereas I feel like me,
actually believe it to be. But,
Theoretically.
yeah,
yes.
When you think of how American, your basic American, thing, America should as a whole believe this way. It's probably more black and white, but really individual people all have their ethical code is so subjective that a lot of times it's not black and white.
Depending on who you are.
People more and more when people decide what they want to be seen,
there's that other
what they want to be seen is what happens after it happens. So
other stuff.
before, or a couple hundred years ago especially, you got to make a decision on you can be responsible or not by doing something. And there seems like you need to do something and state it. You don't want to be responsible, not directly, but you can do that.
Question just connects to what's happening in our state and in our nation. This, for sure. Right. So what we're going to do now is this. You've had some time to talk about to talk about our American culture and its ethical code of responsibility. I'm going to give us 6 scenarios, and we're going to do thumbs up or thumbs down, and then we'll be talking about your rationale in your small groups. So there's 6 of them. So here's the first one. You found $100 in a paper bag at a football game. Do you thumbs up, hand it over to a teacher, or do you thumbs down, keep it? So thinking about your own ethical code of responsibility, thumbs up, you give it to a teacher or an adult. Thumbs down, you keep it. It is a paper bag of $100. You found it at the football game. Thumbs up, return. Thumbs down, keep it. All right. Moral dilemma happening in Mason's mind? I hear ya. It's challenging. It's like theoretically, what will we do? Realistically, what will we do? Right? There's a difference. All right. So talk it up. Case. Mason's like, I don't know. It's too stressful. So let's talk about your rationale for why you would thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm just gonna go around and listen in.
So a few years ago, my mom lost this gold bracelet that she got from her mom, who's in Guatemala. And what happened was, this woman found it, and she didn't even keep it. She threw it away, which is so stupid. Instead of like turning it in, she threw it away. And I know that $100 for some people is a lot of what they have. So I would just
Probably just announce over the like loudspeaker, did you lose $100?
what if that, and she had to pay, like what if that was something like money that they were gonna use to like pay the bills? Yeah, I don't know.
It was $5 is mine.
Yeah,
I would say
especially if it's like
it'd have to be really easy for like
Actually, the other makes sense.
yeah.
give it back.
Like, what it would mean to me at that point is like, it could be nothing compared to what it is to them. Yeah.
Because like at the school, I would be
Like $100 is nice, but I
easy
don't
to
need
go up and have them announce what's in the lost $100 bill, and then they could like, it would be easy if they were, if it's still like the game's still going for someone, like go up there and
Yeah, we do.
I was like,
find it. I mean,
adults
but
are like
then
little
on the
kids,
other
like,
hand,
that's like $1 billion to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a 7-year-old that's saving up for
And
an
it's interesting
Xbox.
because you guys are my last class to do this. This particular scenario, the majority of your classmates did this. They would keep it. They were being honest, but they would keep it. They wouldn't hand it over. I would say 2/3 of the class, of the junior class who I teach, 55 of you guys, 56 of you guys, about 2/3 said they'll keep it. At least they're being honest, but there you go. All right, scenario number 2. You are leaving a grocery store and have made it to your car, should be car, when you notice that the cashier forgot to ring on the Coke at the bottom of the cart. And now let's make it clear. You're at Walmart, okay? Not Harder House, Walmart. Do you go back and pay for it, or do you leave?
How did that
Thumbs
pass
up?
through the detection?
Single bottle or
It's a single bottle. Thumbs up, return, go and pay for it. Thumbs down, just go to your car and go and drive off. Interesting. Oh, Laura's like, I don't know, this is so hard.
My dad would return it, my mom would not, so I'm not going to.
All right, so everyone did thumbs down. You would go home, rationalize why you would do what you do.
They're $1 billion.
Because if the scanner didn't even do it, then like, damn, that's
It's not your fault.
destiny.
Yeah. And it's not making them so like make a difference. Yeah. Like if it were like
It was
a
a-
$50 watch.
It's also
I mean,
such a hassle. It's such a hassle to go back inside and
Did
pay
they
for
sell
it.
single? Do they sell single coin? Yeah, they do.
I mean, I'll take what I can get for free.
And I felt too awkward to ask him to do this to me. I was like, and it's my fault. Like, money out of my paycheck. Like, it would be the cashier's fault. Oh wait, does the cashier get it taken out? And they probably are now. Walmart, no.
Well,
Okay.
I had this dilemma. So it was just
Yeah.
last week. So I was at Old Navy because they were having a sale. My daughter needed dresses for church, and she rung me up, and I noticed as she did the total, I was like, wow, it's really cheap. And then I looked, and she forgot to charge a dress. And there was a war, like how what was happening in your mind, there was a war battling in my head, thinking, well, she messed up. And then I said, but no, that's not right. And then I was like, no, it's only $7. I said, no. And then I'm serious, I debated, it felt like 5 minutes. And then, but I was by myself, and I thought, well, I'm by myself, so my kids aren't here, so I can just, not say anything. And then my conscience got the better of me, and I let her know. After she rung me up, so I paid for it, and then I said, no, this is wrong. And so I told her, and she said, oh, yeah, and then she charged me. And then at least I walked away thinking, but there was a battle, like I almost walked out of Old Navy, and I was thinking the same thing. It's like, well, Old Navy's a big company, it's only $7, and she messed up. But I was like, I can't. I'm in my head too much already, so I'd rather just have peace in my mind.
It's actually kind of crazy.
But in my younger years, I can be honest and say I did not do that.
Yeah, my sister shopped at
All right, here we go. Third scenario, you are a teacher and you are grading your final exams for the semester. One ordinarily good student earns a 50%, fails the course. Your policy states in order to pass, a student must receive a 60% or above, 60% or above. However, you know this particular student is having trouble at home. Do you give him the failing grade or do you pass him anyway? Thumbs up, fail. Thumbs down, pass. Thumbs up, fail. Thumbs down, pass. Thumbs up, fail this kid. Thumbs down, pass this kid because of claiming extenuating circumstances. Thumbs up, fail. Thumbs down, pass. Oh, it's challenging. This has happened to me at university. Ooh, yeah, it was really hard. It was a dilemma for me. All right, share your rationale for why you would pass or fail this student.
Just because he failed
So
the test.
for me, that
But
it's,
like I might
the
do
test
one
is
fail
supposed to be a reflection of you as a student and how far you've come and what you know.
do something
You,
else.
like, we know that he's an ordinarily good student, he's having trouble at home. It's not a reflection of him, it's a reflection of his situation. You understand? And I don't think that he deserves to be failed on top of an already bad situation like that. I think that, yeah, because like school isn't the only thing going on in class size. You know, whenever something's happening, the rest of the life is so long. So like it's hard to balance these two
Well,
things.
I
You can't
think is
expect
I try to
everyone
talk
has
to them
different,
or like
different
make some
situations
kind
that
of
come to be
deal
all
with
up to
them.
the same extent.
Like if I pass them, then I have to do
So like,
like this amount of work, or they have to pass some kind of test or
That basically
do something to prove that they know what they're doing. They don't want to
you can always
just
help
pass
them
them when they
more,
don't.
give them extra credit, give them extra stuff, and actually help them through that instead of passing them, help them learn, like, not learn, but like, maybe add something that can like help it. So, yeah.
I heard qualifiers to this dilemma. Nice. All right, let's look at this as a government one. So there's a small country in the Balkan region of Europe, and it's engulfed in a civil war. The two sides of the war fall along religious lines. You are the president of the United States, and you have to decide what the United States is going to do. Should the U.S. stay out of the war, completely considering the warring peoples are in a sovereign state and should be able to determine their own fate? Or should the U.S. send troops to try and restore peace, considering the violent nature of the fighting and the fact that the leaders of both sides have been known to lean toward religious genocide? So, so thumbs up, intervene. Thumbs down, not intervene. Thumbs up, intervene. Thumbs down, not intervene. We'll give you 30 seconds to think about this.
I don't know. U.S. wars in other countries, it's never gone.
yeah.
Right. Oh, Vietnam.
All right, thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, one more time, share at your table what your rationale for why you chose thumbs up or thumbs down.
So so there was a Guatemalan Civil War in the 80s that my dad came over to, and it was really violent. There was like guerrilla warfare, and the U.S. sent in troops like to help, but instead they ended up aiding in the genocide of the indigenous people, and it was between 200,000 to 600,000 indigenous people, and it's still like claimed that they helped, you know. Yeah, exactly, and I feel like
I don't think I would.
it's instead just
Probably
like
wait for the,
if genocide is initiated,
like the origin of all this.
start intervening. But I don't know, the U.S. is just kind of known to have like the wrong intentions deep down,
Sending
and
troops in
so I
would
just
be
think they
taken
should stay
a
out.
long time.
I didn't even hear about this. I didn't even know there was a Guatemalan genocide.
Yeah, I don't know about it because of my parents. I feel like sending
Yeah, I
troops
mean, I
to
probably
Congress
thought
will-
the life my unit already They're like, yo, what do you think? Yeah. Yeah.
You're obviously not the same.
We could, yeah. I don't know, other, you can talk. I don't know, yeah, I think I'd wait.
All right, our last one. You're living in an urban city, let's say New York, and it's early in the morning, and you hear an altercation outside your bedroom window. You turn on the light, and you open your window. You notice that others in your building are doing the same. Then you hear a woman shriek, "Oh my God, he stabbed me." Do you call the police, or do you wait for someone else in your building to call? Thumbs up, call the police. Thumbs down, wait. Thumbs up, call the police. Thumbs down, wait. All right, one more time. Rationalize why you would do this.
So I'm thinking of consent when it was about like the bystander effect, how everyone assumes that someone else is doing something and in the end like no one ends up doing anything. And then I feel like it's not worth that chance to waste. So like even if there is already someone calling, like better safe than sorry. No risks. Pretty much no risks. And waiting.
I would say,
Yeah.
waiting for other people to call. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the average, most people have that same mindset.
Yeah.
But others should just get out.
And like even if they gave a little bit of sass, like someone already felt like, okay, like better than yeah, and I'm letting a woman down.
All right. So let's look at this. This was published in the New York Times on March 27, 1964. And it is titled 38 Who Saw Murder Didn't Call the Police. For more than half an hour, the 38 respectable, law-abiding citizens in Queens watched a killer stalk and stab a woman in 3 separate attacks in Kew Gardens. Twice their chatter and the sudden glow of the bedroom lights interrupted him and frightened him off. Each time he returned, sought her out, stabbed her again. No one person telephoned the police during the assault. One witness called after the woman was dead. That was 2 weeks ago today. Still shocked is Assistant Chief Inspector Frederick M. Lesson, in charge of the borough's detectives and a veteran of 25 years of homicide investigations. He can give a matter-of-fact resuscitation on many murders, but the Kew Garden slaying baffles him. Not because it was a murder, but because the good people failed to call the police. As we have reconstructed the crime, he said the assailant had 3 chances to kill this woman during a 35-minute period. He returned twice to complete the job. If we had been called when he first attacked, the woman might not be dead now. This is what the police say happened at 3:20 a.m. in the stylish middle-class tree-lined Austin Street area. 28-year-old Catherine Genevieve, who was called Kitty by almost everyone in the neighborhood, was returning home from her job as manager of a bar in Hollis. She parked her red Fiat in a lot adjacent to the Kew Gardens Long Island Railroad Station, facing Mulberry Place. Like many residents of the neighborhood, she had parked there day after day since her arrival from Connecticut a year ago, although the railroad frowns on the practice. She turned off the lights of her car, locked the door, and started to walk the 100 feet to to the entrance of her apartment at 8270 Austin Street, which is in a Tudor building with stores in the first floor, apartments on the second. The entrance to the apartment is in the rear of the building because the front is rented to retail stores. At night, the quiet neighborhood is shrouded in the slumbering darkness that marks most residential areas. Ms. Genovese noticed a man at the far end of the lot, near a 7-story apartment house at 8240 Austin Street. She halted. Then, nervously, she headed up Austin Street toward Lefferts Boulevard, where there is a call box to the 102nd Police Precinct in nearby Richmond Hill. She got as far as the streetlight in front of a bookstore before the man grabbed her. She screamed. Lights went on in the 10-story apartment house at 8267 Austin Street, which faces the bookstore. Windows slid open and voices punctuated the early morning stillness. Ms. Genovese screamed, "Oh my God, he stabbed me. Please help me, please help me." From one of the upper windows in the apartment house, a man called down, "Let that girl alone." The assailant looked up at him, shrugged, walked down Austin Street toward a white sedan parked a short distance away. Ms. Genovese struggled to her feet. Lights went out. The killer returned to Ms. Genovese, now trying to make her way around the side of the building by the parking lot to get into her apartment. The assailant stabbed her again. "I'm dying," she shrieked, "I'm dying." Windows were opened again, and lights went on in many apartments. The assailant got into his car and drove away. Ms. Genovese staggered to her feet. A city bus, 010, the Lefferts Boulevard line to Kennedy International Airport passed. It was 3:35 a.m. The assailant returned. By then, Ms. Genovese had crawled to the back of the building where the freshly painted brown doors to the apartment house held out hope for safety. The killer tried the first door. She wasn't there. At the second door, 8262 Austin Street, he saw her slumped on the floor at the foot of the stairs. He stabbed her a third time, fatally. It was 3:50 by the time the police received their first call from a man who was a neighbor of Ms. Genovese. In 2 minutes, they were at the scene. The neighbor, a 70-year-old woman, and another woman were the only persons on the street. Nobody else came forward. The man explained that he had called the police after much deliberation. He had phoned a friend in Nassau County for advice, and then he had crossed the roof of the building to the apartment of the elderly woman to get her make the call. "I didn't want to get involved," he sheepishly told police. 6 days later, the police arrested Winston Mosley, a 29-year-old business machine operator, and charged him with homicide. Mosley had no previous record. He is married, has 2 children, and owns a home at 13319 Sutter Avenue, South Ozone Park, Queens, New York. On Wednesday, a court committed him to Kings County Hospital for psychiatric observation. When questioned by the police, Mosley also said he had slain Mrs. Annie Mae Johnson, age 24, of 14612 133rd Avenue, Jamaica, on February 29, and Barbara Kralik, age 15, of 17417 140th Avenue, Springfield Gardens, last July. In the Kralik case, the police are holding Alvin L. Mitchell, who is said to have confessed to that slaying. The police stressed how simple it would have been to have gotten in touch with them. A phone call, said one of the detectives, would have done it. The police may be reached by dialing 0. Today, witnesses from the neighborhood, which is made up of one-family homes in the 35,000 to 660,000 range, with the exception of the 2 apartment houses near the railroad station, find it difficult to explain why they didn't call the police. A housewife knowingly, quite casually, said, "We thought it was a lover's quarrel." A husband and wife both said, "Frankly, we were afraid." They seemed aware of the fact that the events might have been different. A distraught woman, wiping her hands on her apron, said, "I didn't want my husband to get involved." One couple, now willing to talk about that night, said they first heard the screams. The husband looked thoughtfully at the bookstore where the killer first grabbed Miss Genovese. "We went to the window to see what was happening," he said, "but the light from our bedroom made it difficult to see the street." The wife, still apprehensive, added, "Put out the light and we were able to see better." Asked why they didn't call the police, she shrugged and replied, "I don't know." A man peeked out from a slight opening in the doorway to his apartment and rattled off an account of the killer's second attack. Why hadn't he called the police at the time? "I was tired," he said without emotion, and went back to bed. It was 4:25 a.m. when the police arrived to take the body of Miss Genovese. It drove off. Then, the solemn police detective said, the people came out. The above reported events are true and took place on March 14, 1964. And so, this brutal murder and the apathy of the people is now is labeled as the Genovese syndrome. I'm thinking that if some of you guys took AP psychology, you might have heard this story. And so we think about this idea of personal and social responsibility, and we think about these scenarios. You know, we have these theoretical responses, And I like what Ty said. He was like, ideologically, yes, we want to respond appropriately. But when we're faced with reality, more often than not, our answer is no. We don't get involved, or we do the opposite of what we say we're going to do. And that's this idea of herd mentality and cultural fear. And this is what we're going to be exploring in our exploration of Arthur Moser Crucible. We're going to be looking at it through culture. Why do human beings behave the way they behave? We can figure that out through the culture that's established and fostered. And then we're also going to look at the second question is responsibility. What is our personal responsibility? What is our societal responsibility? So, but first, we need to do this. Take out your Chromebooks, and I want you to reflect over last night's reading. So if you head to, take out your Chromebooks and head to our class website. You can access it via Google Classroom. You'll need your assignment or the text, and so click on this link. It's also on the class website. Let me look at this so you can see it. Stop presenting. And I'm really interested specifically in your guys' questions. So when you get to it, reflection over article, introduction to the Crucible, you can just click on it and it'll take you to this. And then write your first and last name. I'm asking, there's 3 questions. The first question is write one sentence from the text that struck you as you read the introduction. I'm curious to see what idea has stayed in your mind since you read this text. And then 2 more questions. I want you to write down one open-ended question you have regarding this play and or the lens in which we will read and watch this play. So remember, our lens of seeing is through culture and responsibility. Culture and responsibility. How culture can dictate human behavior. And then responsibility, both personal and societal responsibility. So 2 questions. 2 open-ended questions. A what, how, or why question. So I'll give you about, 5 minutes for this. It may not take 5 minutes.